Do you know what day it is today? Exactly, it's Notion Day. Today we're going to look at a task manager in Notion. I know it's unheard of, but it was about time somebody did that. So today we're going to dive into it. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. It is Julia here, and today I will go on with my third or fourth part of the Notion setup video, and I will guide you through my task manager. Quick disclaimer, I'm not wearing glasses because I couldn't stand the reflection of my window in all the videos that I edited so far, so today I'm giving it a try, but I only have an intuition about where the camera is, so if I'm looking somewhere weird, be mindful that I'm trying my best, you guys, okay? I think that there's not much of an introduction left to be made, so we can probably just jump in Notion. Let me check my... Oh, there. Yeah, that's how short-sighted I am, by the way. Let me start screen sharing, but for that I need my glasses on, because otherwise that ain't happening. So, see you in Zoom. Now, there's basically two ways really to organize a task manager in Notion. The first one being to leverage the notes in Notion, just write freeform text inside a note that you can actually structure and have it visualize with a toggle to the side that you can check the moment you're done with some task. And this will just reside in a note within Notion. The problem with this is that all this freeform text is not really a structured entity that you can operate on, so it doesn't have properties. You cannot really understand what the priority of a project is, like when is it due? Is it something that needs to happen today, tomorrow? It's up to you to, for example, structure it in a note where you have a column where you're gonna put all the notes that are all the text that is due today, all the text that is due tomorrow. But there's no really way to automate that, and it's gonna really rely on a lot of manual work that I think it's not very much useful. A much more reasonable way, in my opinion, is to actually use databases, because what is a task manager if not a list of tasks that you need to do? And that list of tasks, trust me, fits quite well into a database that is the most powerful entity that is in Notion, in my opinion. So all the tasks that in your task manager will be actually entries in this database, task 1, task 2, task 3, and each of them will have a uniform structure that is up to you to decide. So for example, every task according to your needs might have a priority, might have a due date, might have a project that it is linked to, and things like that that you get to decide and structure accordingly and uniformly for every task in your task manager. And the power of this is that through the Notion engine, all of this is going to be indexable and it's going to be searchable, so you can structure all these tasks in views. Like for example, if you only want to view the first priority, or if you only want to view things that are due today. So this makes it easy to then create all the views that you need, which is what we're going to look at right now. Welcome to my Notion setup. Again, if you saw my past videos on Notion, you're actually maybe familiar with this, but we will dive in the dashboard and look at how it is organized. But first, since I actually talked about how this is different from a standard freeform text to-do note, I would like to give you an example. So for example, if we create a task manager here, let's look at all the times I'm gonna misspell stuff. If you want to have a task manager as a standard freeform note, here you're gonna create a to-do list, and you're gonna write your items like that. And this is your to-do list. You can probably structure all of this in different columns, and you can create different levels. So for example, this might end up being Monday. If I duplicate that and put it to the side, this is gonna become Tuesday, whatever, and so on and so forth. And once I'm done with something, I cross it off. This is all good, but the problem is that there's no way to actually index these to-do notes. If I want to give a priority to this is not going to be possible. If I want to, for example, look at all the tasks that have first priority, that have a deadline set to Tuesday, there's no way to do it, because the only meaning and the only link between this task and the fact that it needs to happen on Tuesday, it's just the placement in a page, which doesn't really mean anything. This can be moved around completely and the semantics is lost. I might just misplace it inadvertently and this will be due on Monday instead of Tuesday. So you really are not leveraging any of the cool properties of Notion, which are the ability to index and to query columns in a database if you use a task manager in this form. And instead, what I would argue you should be doing is to create a database containing all your tasks. Like, for example, this one, the today to-do list, is just a view. So a partial view, a partial selection of a subset of to-do items coming from this database, which is huge and growing over time, but only filtered to the ones that have a due date, so the intent date when I plan to do a task set to today, and that they are active, not put on hold, not waiting on something different, not set up for the future or something like that. And this is more powerful because it allows you to automate a lot of the things. For example, if today I'm gonna write a new task, this is gonna be automatically set to the due date of today because I'm creating it in this view, which is partial to this property. Doesn't really matter. But if I decide, oh no, actually I'm gonna do it tomorrow, automatically this is gonna spill over to my tomorrow to-do list, where I will find it automatically and I can assign priorities. So if this is my week defining task, this is gonna be show up on top of my list. If I create a new task which is not as high priority, this is gonna be ordered lower in the task because I'm sorting based on priority. And all of this is functionalities that you would not be able to have in a free-form task manager, and I think that's fairly obvious by what we saw here. In the task manager that you structure in this way, it might look way cooler because if you format this in a pretty way, you can add fancy fonts and colors, but that looks like brain yoga to me and not really something useful that will boost your productivity. So if this is not enough to have you work and be productive, I would argue that you might want to shift to something different and that is more structured and has some automatic filtering in the background, and that allows you to do a more elaborate prioritization of the tasks and scheduling of the tasks based on a date, on a deadline, and on a priority, whatnot. Now that we have the strong case in favor of databases, despite the fact that indeed this doesn't look the best, the bottom line of a task manager is that I need to find my tasks on the day when I need to do them based on the priority that I set for them. And possibly, maybe I'm gonna have other views that might be useful for me. For example, the backlog is the list of tasks that I didn't complete in the past 7 days that I usually just reschedule for the next week. Because what I do with my task manager is generally not to schedule on a day-to-day basis, so the day before for the day after. What I do is on Sundays, I try to make a overall broad plan for the next week, and I go through the backlog. I go through the meetings that are already scheduled for the next week. And then in the meantime, I add different tasks that I came up with. For example, taking them from the unassigned list, which is a list of tasks that I need to be doing at some point and that I thought about in the past. And on Sunday, when I plan the week, I go over this and I decide, oh, okay, yeah, definitely this is incoming. This I need to work on pretty soon. So all the views that I put on the database allow me not to lose track of the things that I thought about that I might need to do, the things that maybe I cannot do now because they're waiting on something, but that I'm going to have to complete at some point, all the tasks that I didn't manage to complete in the past. And I believe that this is very important for a task manager to operate correctly. Also, the fact that I can link new tasks to projects. So I can link them and view them based on a single project to isolate the concerns in my day-to-day operations and job. And this, for example, is a view that I can get here with the overview of the project that I'm working on right now or that are on hold in the future. They might happen someday, where I have this beautiful progress bar with all the tasks that were completed so far and all the tasks that need to be completed yet. To be fair, I got this template and this progress bar from August Bradley, but it doesn't really work for me because it's hard to know firsthand and at the beginning of a project all the tasks that you need to do, especially if it's a long-running project. I cannot possibly know all the things that I will be doing in an upcoming months, so the progress bar is really unrealistic. It says that I did 100% and it's absolutely false. But I kind of like it, and it shows a bit of progress every time, so I'm keeping it for now. Then if I open one of the projects, I can also find all the tasks that I completed for this project in this view, and it also helps me to keep track of the selection and the partitioning of my energies on a weekly basis and understand how much energy and how much time I'm spending on different projects, also based on the priority. Like, this one is going to be my year defining goal. It might change over time, but for now that's my main focus. Then there are other first priority projects where I'm expecting to be putting more effort in the near future until I get them to a decent stage, and so on and so forth. And these are all things that I would not be able to do if I were using a naive structure of a task manager that doesn't actually leverage the Notion power, being the fact that it's a database with query opportunities on that database. So hopefully this was helpful for you to understand how I structure my task manager, how and why it is important to use databases instead of just free-form text on Notion pages, which may look really cool, but I think are way less functional for productivity. Welcome back. I hope you had a good overview of how you can actually organize Notion to be a task manager. Now, is it the only way to do task management? Absolutely not. Is it the best one? I don't think so, but it can work for many cases. So, for example, for me, why did I use Notion instead of, Todoist or Things3? Well, first of all, I don't own any Apple product. I mostly work on Linux, so it's a no-go for me. Second one, Todoist. I gave it a try, but man, it didn't allow me to have enough flexibility to set up my tasks and my priorities, add and remove fields and properties in a database. I was just like, I don't know, it's not enough for me. And I would have probably had a better experience if I was using the paid version, the subscription version, but then again, I don't want to pay for yet another subscription. Since I have Notion for free as a pro account as an academic, I was like, I can work with that. Different people might have different preferences though. There's no one size fits them all, I would say, and it depends on how much flexibility you want to have, how much ready-made task managers you want to have. With Notion, you're basically building it from scratch with the basic tools, and instead there's other software products that do provide that fully packaged already and can maybe remove the hassle of setting it up and creating a database and creating relationships. So depending on what you prefer and what's your level of confidence with using Notion, of course you can opt for another task manager based also on the platforms that you use. But if all things considered, the one thing that is stopping you from using Notion as a task manager is only that you don't really know how to use databases that well, or maybe you don't know how to use filters, views, and everything. Well, we might have a solution to that. I'm planning on publishing a few tutorials on the topic so that you can get a basic understanding of Notion databases and how to use them to create, for example, a task manager, among other things that you can assemble through Notion. So in case you're interested, you can leave me a comment or like or maybe subscribe. I'm just saying. So I hope to see you all in next week's video. And for today, that is all I have for you. It is Julia here, and I'll see you next Sunday. Bye. I literally think that you can hear my stomach growling on the mic.